Hello, today we are with George Marcus. George is a Holocaust survivor born in Cologne, Germany. George, thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you.
It's certainly a pleasure. As I said earlier, you were born in Cologne, Germany.
I was born during the Nuremberg laws when the repression started against the Jewish people. Students couldn't finish high school, students couldn't get jobs, lawyers, doctors, judges couldn't work. Everything was against them. They couldn't ride trains, they couldn't ride buses, they couldn't sit in the park. These were terrible things. In fact, there was a picture of my mother in a drugstore because she was a very attractive woman, and they were embarrassed that they had to take it down because she was Jewish. So consequently, that's the way we lived during the Nuremberg repressions. I lived with my mother, my father, and my grandmother in their hometown, which was Fettweiss, which was a German village, and my grandmother had a store there. My father couldn't work as a weaver, for which he was trained, and my mother couldn't finish her education as a pharmacist because those were the laws that happened. Somebody killed a German soldier in the French embassy, which negated Kristallnacht, which happens to be my first birthday. So to this day, I'm reminded of the Holocaust every birthday, every year. It's in my life, and that's the reason I speak, because I want to tell people what happened and why it shouldn't happen, because anti-Semitism was rife all over Europe. It happened in Poland, it happened in Russia, it happened in Ukraine, it happened in Czechoslovakia, it happened in Austria, it happened in France, it happened in Belgium, it happened all over. And this is the way the Holocaust started and what happened. My father was arrested on Kristallnacht with 30,000 other Jewish men, where 90 men were killed and they were treated like slaves. As a matter of fact, what happened in Buchenwald, if you were bad, they stuck you in a barrel with spikes, rolled you down a hill, and when that happened, they sent the dogs after you to kill you off. Men were hung up on hooks till their arms came out of the sockets, and consequently, it was the life in Europe. It was all over the place. That was the way they were treated. My father was working with HAMEC, and they asked permission to leave, and when his exit visa from Buchenwald came, the Nuremberg repression started in 1933, and this was already 1937. And my father's visa came, and we left in February of 39, and then war broke out in September of 39, and that's when the war happened. My father, who was a weaver, couldn't get a job in Germany, but he ended up coming to America, going to Frankfurt Woolen Mills and weaving cloth for the U.S. Army. My uncle came to America, learned English, and when the war broke out, he wanted to go back to Germany so he could see what happened to his parents who were left behind. He became an officer, And after that, he became a Ricci boy. The Ricci boys went to a camp in Maryland, Camp Ricci, and there they learned how to interrogate and analyze what's happened. Met somebody coming out of a village who told them, the Germans are there, don't shell the village. There's citizens there, there's people there. It'll be a real disaster. So my uncle took a white flag, drove into town, and convinced 2 German generals that they should surrender their troops to the Americans. And with that, they agreed, and my uncle got into a staff car with 2 German generals, and they said to him, how come you speak such good German? My uncle said, I was a good student in high school. He didn't tell me he was Jewish and German. And with that, he led the troops to surrender. And then later on, when the war was going on, there was a dam being built near the hometown where my uncle lived. He told the troops that that was bad. He went into Aachen, bombed open a safe in a waterworks, found the German documents, and with those documents, he went to the major troops and convinced them, don't go down below the dam, it'll be a disaster if the Germans blow the dam. So they diverted the troops above the dam and saved them. So with that, he saved thousands of lives and equipment, and for that he got a Bronze Star. And why did he not get a Silver Star? Somebody said he didn't want anybody who's Jewish to get a goddamn Silver Star because they're Jewish. Even this was the anti-Semitism we found in the United States Army. But he was a hero with that. He was wounded. He stayed in Germany to recuperate, looking for his parents, never finding them, which let him finally get through the Holocaust Chronicles, an idea of what happened to the people in the area and the location of where they went. So they went to Belgius, which was in Poland near Ukraine, and consequently we went back as a family, and that's where I learned a lot about what happened. So while all this was going on, family was in war. My father's cousin, one was wounded when a Jeep overturned. Another was a staff sergeant for Eisenhower, and we stayed away from believing in Germany. We lived our American lives. And it gives me great pleasure to talk to students and tell some of them what really happened. And what really happened is hard to believe. And believe me, they pick up on the fact that I took stones from the death camp and buried them in my mother's grave, because that was as close as she could come to finding out what happened to her parents. I speak to adults, I speak to synagogues. Why? Because the American way of life is good, even though we have a lot of faults. In Germany, they spend a lot of time speaking about the Holocaust. They're sending people over here to teach the students, and they're doing everything they can. I give them credit for that, but I hold them guilty for what really happened. You don't kill 9 million people. That's 6 million Jews, of which 1.5 million were children. And I tell people I'm talking to, look to your left, look to your right. Of the 3 of you, if you had been in Europe during that period of time, 2 of you would not exist. It was such a small society. There were the gypsies, there were people who were against the German government, there were many, many people who were affected. The thing that impresses me the most are those kids who listen to what's happening, understand what anti-Semitism is, understand what anything is, and do the right thing. Their education is what's going to bring us forward so it doesn't happen again.